"I'd rather die than have your babies," she said when I mentioned kids. So I left and found someone who actually wanted mine. Now she's old, childless, and begging to come back. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. This happened 4 years ago, but I'm sharing it now because Jessica just showed up at my daughter's first birthday party uninvited, and I think I need to get this whole story off my chest. I met Jessica when I was 24 and she was 22. We worked at different companies, but ran in the same social circle. She was gorgeous, ambitious, and had this energy that just drew people in. I was completely smitten from day one. Looking back, I should have noticed that the energy I found so attractive was actually her constantly scanning the room for better options. But when you're young and in love, you make excuses for everything. We dated for 2.5 years. I thought we were building something real. I helped her move apartments twice, supported her through a difficult job transition, and even loaned her money when her car broke down. My family loved her, or at least they tried to. My mom later told me she always felt like Jessica was performing whenever she came around, but she kept that to herself because she could see how happy I thought I was. The beginning of the end happened on a Saturday night in March. Our friends Dave and Kelly had invited us over to meet their new baby, Emma. She was maybe 3 months old, just this tiny perfect little thing. I've always been good with kids. I'm the uncle who gets down on the floor and plays, the one who volunteers to hold the baby so the parents can eat dinner in peace. That night, Emma was fussing and Kelly looked exhausted. Without thinking, I asked if I could try to calm her down. I walked around their living room, bouncing her gently and talking to her in that stupid voice people use with babies. She stopped crying almost immediately and just stared up at me with these huge eyes. "You're a natural," Dave said, grinning. "Emma likes you more than she likes me half the time. He's going to make such a good dad someday," Kelly added, settling back into the couch with obvious relief. I felt this warm glow in my chest. "I hope so," I said, still swaying with Emma. "I've always wanted to be a dad. Can't wait, honestly." I glanced over at Jessica to include her in the moment, maybe share a smile about our future together. Instead, she was staring at her phone, jaw tight. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. "We should probably get going," she said without looking up. "I have an early meeting tomorrow." It was 8:30 on a Saturday night. The car ride home was silent except for the radio. I kept replaying the evening, trying to figure out what had shifted. When I pulled into our apartment complex, I finally worked up the courage to ask, "Hey, you seemed uncomfortable tonight when I was holding Emma. Is everything okay?" Jessica was already unbuckling her seatbelt. "Can we not do this right now?" "Do what?" "I just thought maybe we could talk about our future sometime. I know we're young, but..." She whipped around to face me, and the look in her eyes was something I'd never seen before. Pure disgust. "Our future? Mark, I'd rather die than have your babies." I felt like I'd been slapped. We'd never seriously discussed kids, but I'd assumed. I mean, we'd been together over 2 years. We'd talked about moving in together officially, maybe getting engaged after I got my next promotion. "Jessica, what are you? Can you imagine what disgusting little trolls we'd make? With your genetics?" She laughed, but it wasn't a nice sound. "Thank God I'm on birth control." I sat there in stunned silence. This wasn't just about not being ready for kids. This was about me. About what she thought of me as a person, as a potential father, as someone whose DNA she couldn't even imagine mixing with hers. "Look at you," she continued, apparently taking my silence as permission to keep going. "Look at your family. Do you really think I want that life? Suburban mediocrity? Kids who look like miniature versions of you." I turned off the car. My hands were shaking. "I'm saying I can't picture anything worse than being stuck with your kids," she finished. "There. Now you know." I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to ask her why she'd been with me for 2.5 years if she found me so repulsive. I wanted to understand how someone I loved could say such cruel things about something so important to me. Instead, I just nodded. "Okay. Okay, what?" "Okay, I heard you." She seemed surprised that I wasn't fighting back, wasn't trying to convince her otherwise. She grabbed her purse and got out of the car, slamming the door harder than necessary. I sat in that parking spot for another 20 minutes, just processing what had happened. Then I went upstairs, brushed my teeth, and went to bed. Jessica was already asleep, or pretending to be. The next few days were weird. Jessica acted like nothing had happened. She made coffee in the morning, kissed me goodbye, asked about my day when she got home. But something fundamental had broken in me. I started seeing our entire relationship differently. How many times had she made little comments about my job not being exciting enough? How often had she steered conversations away from my family, my hometown, my interests? How many times had she introduced me to people as if she were apologizing for me? I'd been making excuses for years. The following Thursday, while Jessica was at her weekly happy hour with coworkers, I packed my stuff. I didn't take anything that was ours, just my clothes, my books, my guitar. I left a note on the kitchen counter. I hope you find whatever you're looking for. Then I blocked her number and all her social media accounts. She tried calling from different numbers for weeks. She showed up at my new apartment twice, but I just didn't answer the door. Mutual friends asked what happened, and I kept it simple. We wanted different things. That was the truth, wasn't it? For the first few months, I was a mess. Not because I missed Jessica. I realized pretty quickly that I missed the idea of Jessica more than the actual person. But because her words had planted this seed of doubt about myself. Was I really as pathetic as she made me sound? Would any woman actually want to have kids with me? I started going to therapy. I focused on myself for the next 8 months. Hit the gym consistently, started playing guitar again, reconnected with friends I'd neglected during the Jessica years. I wasn't looking for a relationship. I was just trying to remember who I was when I wasn't constantly worried about whether I was disappointing someone. That's when I met Sarah. I was at this little bookstore downtown, browsing the philosophy section, when someone behind me said, "Nietzsche? Really?" I turned around to find this woman with curly brown hair and the brightest smile I'd ever seen. I know, I said. Very pretentious 20-something guy of me. Actually, I was going to say brave. I tried to read Beyond Good and Evil in college and wanted to throw it across the room after 20 pages. We ended up talking for 2 hours. Sarah was a third-grade teacher, funny and warm, and genuinely interested in hearing my thoughts about everything from books to travel to what I'd wanted to be when I grew up. When I mentioned that I worked in IT but was considering going back to school for engineering, she lit up. "That's amazing. What kind of engineering?" Not, "Why would you want to start over?" Or, "Isn't that a lot of work?" Just genuine enthusiasm for my dreams. 3 months later, we were officially dating. 6 months after that, I knew I wanted to marry her. The conversation about kids happened naturally, the way these things should. We were babysitting her sister's twins for the weekend, and I was helping 6-year-old Marcus with a puzzle while Sarah braided 4-year-old Lily's hair. "You're so good with them," Sarah said, glancing over at me. "I love kids. Always have." I held my breath, waiting for the familiar tension, the subject change, the emotional withdrawal. Instead, Sarah grinned. "Me too. I became a teacher partly because I wanted to work with kids even before I had my own." "You want kids? Your own kids? Of course. Don't you?" It was such a simple question, asked with such genuine curiosity. No judgment, no disgust, no analysis of my genetic worthiness. "Yes," I said. "I really do." "Good," she said, and went back to braiding. "I was hoping you'd say that." That was it. No drama, no cruelty, no need to defend my desire to be a father. Just two people who wanted the same things, building toward them together. Meanwhile, I heard through mutual friends that Jessica's life was getting complicated. She dated a series of guys who seemed impressive on paper, but turned out to be commitment-phobic or just plain jerks. One of them was apparently seeing 2 other women the entire time they were together. Another borrowed money from her and disappeared. "She keeps asking about you," my friend Mike told me one day. "Wants to know if you're seeing anyone." "What did you tell her?" "The truth. That you seem happier than I've ever seen you." I was happy. Sarah and I moved in together after a year, got engaged 6 months later. The proposal wasn't some elaborate production, just the 2 of us on a hiking trail we loved, and me finally working up the courage to ask the woman I adored to marry me. She said yes before I even finished the question. We got married the following spring in a small ceremony surrounded by people who actually loved and supported us. Sarah's family welcomed me like I was their own son. My family was over the moon about Sarah. Everything felt right in a way it never had with Jessica. Our daughter Emma was born 2 years later. Yes, we named her after Dave and Kelly's daughter. The little girl who unknowingly triggered the end of my relationship with Jessica and the beginning of my real life. Pregnancy was magical with Sarah. She glowed, literally glowed, and I couldn't stop touching her belly and talking to our baby. We took classes together, painted the nursery together, argued good-naturedly about names, and debated whether we wanted to know the gender. We were a team in every sense of the word. The day Emma was born, I cried. Not just because she was beautiful and perfect, but because I finally understood what Jessica had stolen from me with her cruelty. She'd made me doubt whether I deserved this happiness, whether any woman would actually want to create a life with me. Sarah never had those doubts. She looked at me holding our daughter for the first time and said, "I knew you'd be an amazing dad." Through all of this, Jessica had been making increasingly desperate attempts to find someone. I heard she was on multiple dating apps, going to speed dating events, even asking friends to set her up. The men she met either weren't serious about commitment or weren't interested in her once they got to know her. "She's become kind of bitter," Mike told me one day. Always complaining about men being immature or not knowing what they want. I felt a flicker of something, not quite sympathy, but acknowledgement that dating in your 30s is hard. Then I remembered her words in the car that night, and the feeling passed. When Emma was about 6 months old, Jessica started getting bolder about reaching out to me. She called my office, claiming it was about some shared paperwork from our old apartment. She messaged me on LinkedIn about reconnecting professionally. She even sent a card when Emma was born. How she got my address, I'll never know. I didn't respond to any of it. The first direct encounter happened when Emma was 8 months old. I was at Target buying diapers when I heard someone say my name. I turned around, and there was Jessica, looking older and somehow smaller than I remembered. "Mark? Oh my God, is this your?" She was staring at Emma, who was sitting in the cart, babbling happily and chewing on her teething ring. "Yes, this is my daughter, Emma. She's beautiful." Jessica's voice was weird, strained. "She looks just like you." I waited for the familiar sting of that observation being treated as an insult. Instead, Jessica seemed almost wistful. "Thank you. I heard you got married. Congratulations." "Thank you," I said again. I wasn't trying to be cold, but I had nothing else to say to her. How's fatherhood?" "It's everything I hoped it would be." She flinched slightly. I hadn't meant it as a dig, but we both heard the implication. "That's wonderful," she said, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. I'm trying to have kids now. It's been challenging." I nodded politely, but didn't ask follow-up questions. Didn't offer encouragement or advice. Didn't say I was sorry to hear she was struggling. "Well," she said after an awkward pause, "I should let you get back to dad stuff. Take care, Jessica." I pushed the cart toward the checkout line, and she was just another stranger in the store. The next encounter was more uncomfortable. Sarah and I were at our friend's barbecue when Jessica showed up. Apparently, she'd been dating someone in their extended social circle and got invited as his plus one. She spent the entire afternoon hovering near us, making small talk with Sarah, complimenting Emma, asking about our house, our jobs, our life. Her date seemed nice enough, but I could tell he had no idea what was going on. "So how long have you two known each other?" Sarah asked Jessica at one point, perfectly polite, but with a slight edge that told me she'd figured out who this was. "Oh, Mark and I dated years ago," Jessica said casually. "We were together for a while, but we wanted different things." Sarah just nodded and turned her attention back to Emma, who was attempting to eat grass. Later, as we were getting ready to leave, Jessica cornered me by the cooler. "She seems lovely," she said, nodding toward Sarah. "She is. You look happy." "I am. I've been thinking about us lately. About what went wrong." I lifted Emma out of her stroller and secured her in the car seat. "There's nothing to think about, Jessica." "But there is. I made mistakes. I was young and stupid, and I said things I didn't mean." I closed the car door and looked at her directly for the first time that day. "You meant them." She opened her mouth to argue, but I kept talking. "And that's okay. You were honest about how you felt." "I'm grateful for that honesty, actually. It led me to this." I gestured toward the car, where Sarah was waiting patiently and Emma was already falling asleep. "But what if I've changed? What if I want those things now? Then I hope you find someone who wants them with you. Mark, I need to get Emma home for her nap. Take care of yourself." I got in the car and drove away, leaving Jessica standing by the cooler. "That was her, wasn't it?" Sarah asked quietly. The ex who said those terrible things about having kids with you. I told Sarah about Jessica early in our relationship, partly because I wanted her to understand why I was so insecure about certain things, and partly because I never wanted there to be secrets between us. Yeah, that was her. She looked miserable. Did she? I hadn't noticed. I'd been too focused on getting through the conversation and getting back to my family. The final encounter happened last week, at Emma's first birthday party. We were having it at the community center near our house. Nothing fancy, just family and close friends celebrating our little girl's first year of life. I was outside setting up tables when I saw a familiar car pull into the parking lot. My stomach dropped. Jessica got out, carrying a wrapped present and wearing a dress that was way too formal for a 1-year-old's birthday party. She'd clearly done her research to find out when and where this was happening. Sarah appeared beside me, having spotted her through the window. "Do you want me to handle this?" she asked quietly. "No, I've got it." I walked over to intercept Jessica before she got to the building. "Hi, Mark," she said, holding up the present like a peace offering. "I brought something for Emma." "Jessica, you can't be here." I just wanted to know. My voice was firm, but not angry. "This is my daughter's birthday party. My family isn't there. You weren't invited, and you're not welcome. I just want to see her, to wish her happy birthday. She's 1 year old. She doesn't know you exist, and I'd like to keep it that way." Jessica's composure finally cracked. "Please, Mark. I know I messed up. I know I said horrible things. But I've changed. I want kids now. I want what you have. Then build it with someone else. But I can't. No one wants. I mean, dating is so hard, and I'm running out of time, and..." She stopped herself, but the words hung in the air between us. "I'm sorry you're struggling," I said, and I meant it. "But that has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with you. You were the one who actually loved me, who wanted a future with me. And I threw it away because I was an idiot. You threw it away because you looked at me and couldn't imagine anything worse than having children with me. Those were your exact words. I was wrong. No, you were honest. And I'm grateful for that honesty, because it led me to Sarah. It led me to this life, this family, this happiness that I wouldn't trade for anything." I could see tears starting to form in her eyes, but I felt nothing. Not anger, not satisfaction, not pity. Nothing. "I have to go inside now. My daughter is waiting for her birthday party to start. Mark, please. Can we just..." "Goodbye, Jessica." I walked back toward the building. Behind me, I heard her car door slam and the engine start. Inside, Sarah was bouncing Emma on her hip while my mom set up decorations. "Everything okay?" Sarah asked. "Perfect," I said, and kissed them both. Later that evening, after Emma had thoroughly destroyed her birthday cake and all the guests had gone home, Sarah and I were cleaning up. "Do you think she'll keep trying?" Sarah asked. I thought about it. Jessica at 38, finally understanding what she'd lost. Watching other people have the things she'd rejected. Realizing that you can't go back and unsay words that cruel. Maybe, but it doesn't matter. How can you be so calm about all this? I looked around at the remnants of our daughter's party, the decorations made with love, the toys from friends and family who adored Emma, the photos of the three of us covered in cake and grinning like maniacs. "Because this is real," I said. What I had with Jessica was just waiting. Waiting for the right person to want the same things I wanted. Waiting for someone who thought having my kids would be the best thing in the world, not the worst. Sarah smiled and kissed me, tasting like birthday cake and happiness. "I love your genetics," she whispered against my lips. "Good thing," I whispered back. "Because I'm thinking Emma needs a little brother or sister." Really? Really? And somewhere out there, Jessica is still waiting. Still trying to find someone to give her what she rejected with such cruelty 4 years ago. Still wondering if it's possible to undo words that cut so deep they changed the entire trajectory of two people's lives. I hope she finds happiness, I really do. But not with me, and not with my family. We're exactly where we belong. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.